Welcome back. Street Vibes, democracy, the entertaining part of the show. Street Vibes, listen to what the people have to say. Do they have an idea about what I'm talking about? Let's listen to them.
We have diesel, oil and petrol, but we have other oil. What I think people don't know it. There is quality oil. The oil name is virgin oil.
I know 2 engine oil. I know diesel engine oil and petrol engine oil.
This is a petrol engine, so we use Guao, the drum one.
Actually, there are several types of engine oil, but for me, I think I prefer Total. That is the one I use for my car. I think it's more preferable.
We have about 5 or 6 types of the engine oil we have. We have one in drum and one in gallons. But I prefer the one in gallon.
Welcome back from that break. You now know the reason why I call it democracy. I didn't share more. So now we're going to talk to the experts. I always tell you after listening to you, I want the best for you. So we give you the educational side of it, mastery. That was entertainment. Now we're going to educate you. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Pick your pen and paper because you might need it. Let's go.
Our topic today is about oils. There are 2 types of oil. We have engine oil and transmission oil. Now, I would like first to deal with the engine oil, since engine is an input of transmission. Even with the engine oil, we have 2 types of engine oil. We have the synthetic oil and non-synthetic oil. And we also have a semi-synthetic oil. Now, I feel like to deal with synthetic oil first. Now, the Americans and the US are saying, and the Europeans are saying that there is no absolute definition of the word synthetic. They are saying that it's just a hydro-heated or hydro-atomized type of thing. But let's leave it as it is, synthetic oil. Now, synthetic oil are oil with very little or no wax at all. Synthetic oil mostly have several additives or antioxidants. Now, why we use synthetic oil is that synthetic oil can prolong the lifespan of the engine. Now, you can bear with me that if I have an engine which has about 15 to 30,000 miles or kilometers on the clock, I have no option but to use synthetic oil. They are very light. So what it means is that if the engine is quite new or fairly new, if you don't use synthetic oil, the oil cannot penetrate through the bearing, because the purpose of oil in an engine is to form a thick film between 2 components or between 2 layers. So with the very fairly new engine, the bearings are so tight that if the oil is not lighter, it won't penetrate. And don't forget that we need dry friction is an enemy. It's an unwanted situation in every engine. Therefore, if you are not able to use the right synthetic oil for a very low mileage, it will end in the catastrophic failure of the engine. The only disadvantage of a synthetic oil is one, cost. So the non-synthetic oil is about 40 cedis, 30 cedis, and then synthetic oil start from 70 right down to about 200. So the only disadvantage of a synthetic oil is cost, price, nothing more. Now, with synthetic oil, you take away the sludge, oxidation, it's also able to properly dissipate heat, because part of the function of an oil in the engine is not only to repair, it's also to reduce heat. Now, if you talk about non-synthetic oil, which is oil with full of oils which have so much wax in them, is a disaster. It will be a disaster to use a non-synthetic oil for a very low mileage engine or average mileage, because they are thicker. It's very thick and cannot penetrate and form the film layer as it's supposed to be. They are normally meant for a very high mileage car, engines that are almost there, some 300,000 miles. That is almost, so that means the clearance between the bearings are so wide that they will be able to penetrate and then form a film layer. The only advantage of a non-synthetic oil is the price, and the disadvantages are plenty, a lot. One, they form sludge, they form oxidation, they have very poor point, very poor clad points. They are dangerous. So I would advise that in order to spend, in trying to save money, say you are trying to save 40, 50 cedi difference, you end up spending more, because you can imagine if you have a what you call seizure, because with the bad oil, the end result is seizure, overheating and seizure, and that's the end. The engine lives come to an end. So that is that. There's one more important thing, but I want to say this on authority, that there's no oil in this world like oil for throttle or oil for tires. That information out there is very misleading. It's not true. Oil must be changed according to the mileage. The lower the mileage, you go for the less viscosity. So now, the viscosity of the oil I'm talking about is always written on the can. You see 5W40 means the viscosity is 5. That means that every oil has a viscosity, meaning measurement of a resistance to flow. Now, if you have 5W40, what it means is that during very cold weather conditions, the viscosity of oil should drop to 5 so that the oil can flow. And when it's hot, the resistance will be high so that it will not stop the oil from flowing. And this is very important. Now, when we get to transmission, you will see how important is the viscosity in transmission oil, as more important than even in the engine. I will discuss that later. So it depends on the viscosity. Now, when the viscosity of every oil is less, the price is more. 530 is more expensive than 540. In fact, the 540 is even semi-synthetic. Some are zero. If you see cars like Acura and Honda, you can see that on the oil cover, you see 0W20. That means no resistance at all. Under very severe weather condition, minus, the oil will still flow. That's all it means. You understand? So viscosity of each and every oil should be considered before oil is changed. Now, and there's one more thing I would like to add. When we say servicing, now changing oil and filter is not servicing. Now, servicing is defined as restoring the original performance and economy of an internal combustion engine. Now, just changing oil and filter doesn't mean that you have serviced your car. That's only an oil change.